Good afternoon, I'm TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat Purrsents for ClusterView.com, and I'm with the fabulous Eddy Armani. How are you today, Eddy, on a sunny day?
I'm fabulous. I left Los Angeles because I have a thing about the heat, and today we're having record-breaking temperatures, but that's because I'm in the house.
So we met, I know a lot of people say, there's a lot of people say negative things about social media. So we became Facebook friends, and I was really interested in you because you've done so many fabulous things which we'll come on to, but also with a bit of the Buddhism and the law of attraction. And we never met. You'd always send me lovely messages, and I'd be like, oh, that's really nice. And then you did this interview on Good Morning Britain, and which was fabulous. And I was watching with my mum. I was like, I really like him. I want to interview him one day. So then you had your book, which is called The Real Tea, about Tina Turner.
Yes.
So you were doing a couple of nights, or 3 nights, or eventually it was 2, about talking about your book and your life. But let's talk about the fabulous Eddy Armani before the wonderful, iconic Tina Turner. So I'll quickly say how we met. So I came by myself, and I was walking up there, and you were sitting outside with your friend Philip. And then you just like, Terry, and you made such a warm welcome. We had a sneaky cigarette before you did your show. And it just made me feel so welcome and so at ease, and we had this instant connection. It was
Absolutely.
It was fantastic.
Absolutely. And when I saw you, because I was there, it was, before the show, having a cigarette break and all that, and then all the stuff's going through my head of trying to remember what I was supposed to remember and what I'm not going to remember and all that kind of stuff. And then I saw you, and people talk bullshit, but it was just such a ray of sunshine seeing you walk down the street, because it's like, oh God, save me. I need somebody to kind of and when I saw you, it was like I already met you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like, oh, hi, formal. It wasn't like that. I was like, oh, Terry.
Yeah,
so nice to finally meet you after all this time,
Exactly.
But it has that advantage, because without Facebook, we wouldn't be able to do the things and meet the people and spread so much information around so quickly and all that stuff. So it has its advantage. And I do say, from that advantage, connecting with you with law of attraction, because as you know, I get these spiritual messages or things that really excite me, and I just want to share it. I find this information. And so when I found out that you were on the same level that I was on, it was like, oh great, I have some other people that I can share stuff with, you know what I mean? So we had that connection, the spiritual connection, and then the connection,
music, exactly, which you're obsessed with. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
You come here for lunch with the wonderful Mark White, who you can watch on TerryTopCat Purrsents for ClusterView.com. We did it with Steve Proctor and the wonderful Mark Anthony over there, who's filming us for his wonderful site.
Yes.
So we met Mark White, and he's there. So so we've met before, after, so, and I'm just so looking forward to this interview. So let's start. So you were born in...
But I have to say something.
Please.
I gotta interject here. What's so great about what you're doing, the surroundings. And when I walked in here, honestly, I came for lunch. Terry invited me for lunch, and I came for lunch, and I just was gobsmacked. I don't even think I closed my mouth, because I kept looking around at all this memorabilia that is just, and I have to say, honestly, and I've been around the world. I'm like Lisa Stansfield. I've been around the world, and but this is incredible.
Thank you.
What you've collected, and the originals, and shots that maybe I haven't seen, and so that's also inspiring. You know what I mean? That is so inspiring. It's so inspiring that you're inspired by surrounding yourself by so many people that are a part of it. I like that key.
Well, at the end of the day, as much as I love doing the interviewing and presenting, I'm a music fan first, like yourself, and it's all, and we're into all genres of music. As you can see, we've got Bob Marley, Sonata Maitreya, David Bowie, Grace Jones, Nona Hendrix over there, Jimi Hendrix, which we'll come on to. So you were born in Seattle, in the United States.
Yes.
And your parents went to school with the wonderful Jimi Hendrix.
Yes, they went to Garfield High School in Seattle, Washington, and I think my father was 1 year ahead of Jimmy, and my mother was in the same year or whatever. But it's so funny because they talked about Jimmy every now and then. Something would come up Jimmy, and then years later, when I ended up moving to Los Angeles, my mother went, I went to school with him. Look at him now. Look how exciting he is and all that stuff. There was no one like Jimmy.
Absolutely.
No one like Jimmy.
And still.
No, and still.
Yeah.
And still. I mean, I do think that with a lot of black acts, because when we go outside the box and we do something really fantastic or incredible, whatever, everybody's a little bit like, so overly shocked, but it's like, that's always been there. Jimi Hendrix, I mean, Little Richard, we got all these kind of different acts and people that broke the barriers for Prince, for James Brown.
Tina Turner, which will come on to.
Tina Turner, and when I think about Ike and Tina Turner, I mean, I was I must have been about 5-6 years old. And I knew who James Brown was already. And of course, who didn't love James Brown? James Brown was black soul music that was like going to church, but it was street and Papa Got a Brand New Bag and Sex Machine and all that kind of, I mean, the list goes on and on. I was surprised that James Brown wasn't as big in Europe though. He was more of an American phenomenon, but in America he was our number one. So that opened the door for that kind of like, when it had rhythm and groove and happening, anything. And that comes because of my church background. And then when I was outside playing, and my cousin was dragging me and saying, "Oh, Eddie, that wild woman's on television again, that wild woman. You dance just like her, that wild woman." And I'm like, "Who's this wild woman?" So she's dragging me, and it's so funny because we're going up the stairs, and back in those days, we had a television that's about that size, black and white. She's dragging me up the stairs, and it was in the afternoon, it was Dick Clark. And as she's dragging me up the stairs, I'm hearing this music. And I'm going, okay. And then all of a sudden I go and I turn around like I'm looking into the camera now, and I look at those legs. I look at that mouth. I look at that hair. I mean, I was so mesmerized that I just stopped in my tracks. I mean, I love James Brown, don't get misunderstand me. And Tina Turner was for a long time called the female James Brown. Well, I was just in love. Love at first sight. From that point on, it was just Tina Turner. And it was something that was like the Holy Ghost. When you go to church and you get the feeling and those sisters are feeling this, yes, thank you, Jesus, and everybody's moving around and clapping. I mean, that's real. That's real. That is just your soul just absorbs it all and it just takes over. And from that point, when I saw Tina, it was exactly the same way. It was and of course, God is God and Jesus is Jesus and the Holy Spirit is the Holy Spirit. But Tina Turner was up there with them.
Absolutely. So I mean, I was privileged to go and see you talk about your book and how you met Tina. So briefly, when you first saw her on your cousin's TV, on the small black and white TV,
yes,
to how you got to meet her and go to the studio. So explain quickly how that transitioned from seeing her on TV to actually working for them.
Well, to make a long story short, I was in Seattle, Washington, this little boy, obsessed with Tina Turner after Dick Clark, and then I drove my mother mad. And all I wanted for Christmas was, and I didn't say Ike and Tina Turner, I was Ike and Tina Turner. So I thought it was one name. I drove my mother mad, and then she kept saying, if you do good, whatever. I was a good kid, I had good grades. Anyway, that Christmas came, I got a record player, and it was one of those little boxes, and you lift the top, and it had 78, 45, and 33. And 78 was great because sometimes as kids, when we wanted to make all the records sound like Mickey Mouse, we would do the 78. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So anyway, we do the 78 then. Anyway, so I got the record player, and then with the portable record player, I got an Ike and Tina Turner album and a couple singles. Well, I was obsessed. And to this day, I'm obsessed. When I wake up in the morning, do my law of attraction, before I have a coffee or anything, do my law of attraction, do my prayer, I go downstairs, the radio comes on first before the coffee maker. I have to have the music. Music in a house to me is no life. And I turn the radio on and I have different ones that I go back and forth what I like. I don't like modern music, I'll make it very known. I mean, if you ask me about any of these artists, I can't tell you any of their names or anything. I mean, the only two that I do halfway like is Ed Sheeran, which I like. He's got to be careful too, it's starting to all start to sound alike. But I love Adele, but it's like how many songs I want to commit suicide. I mean, I love Adele, but I mean, come on Adele, bring it back up a bit.
Alison Way for me, I'm sorry.
But see, Alison is my queen. I live for Alison. And what a voice. I mean, what a voice. And then going back into you're supposed to be doing the interview. No. But I was just going to go back to the 80s. It's like that era. We had Annie Lennox. We had all these different, we had Bowie, we had Tina Turner's big comeback. We had, oh gosh, we had the Pointer Sisters, we had Donna Ross, we had Cher, Take Me Home, and this. I mean, you turn on the radio and it was Dionne Warwick, and then, of course, the Miss Fabulous Whitney Houston was born.
Yes.
And then that just exploded. I mean, the music was so diverse, and it was so good, and everyone was so original. Today, I can't tell you, no disrespect. They're gonna hate me anyway, I don't care. I can't tell Beyonce from Rihanna, from this one to that one to that one to this one. All their voices sound the same. The songs sound the same. The arrangements are the same. They're all using the same writers, the same producers, the same this. And as soon as one uses one, they're on the phone to try to grab it. There's no originality.
Except for someone like Sade. I mean...
Oh, no. No, I'm gonna correct. Sade's from our 80s.
Yes, we were talking about the 80s.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
And again, to our 80s, we got so many superstars that you put that music on today and everybody's just into the group. Alison Moe, the Eurythmics.
Eurythmics. Yeah, they just got inducted into the Hall of Songwriters Hall of Fame, Eurythmics.
Did they?
So there's pictures of, hopefully they performed, they're both looking great. So Annie Lennox was all in a army jumpsuit, like one-piece jumpsuit, she looked fabulous, and then Dave was really suave and he's all in black.
Oh
and
my gosh, I gotta go on internet and see this.
Yeah, really good.
How fantastic. Oh, I love them.
Yeah, they're
love
fantastic.
them.
You ever seen them play live?
Yes.
I bet you have. But anyway, coming back to Tina Turner, so you're obsessed, you got the albums, and then how did you get to meet her? So you moved from Seattle to
Los Angeles, yes. So then what happened was I was growing up and I was obsessed with Tina Turner. And then, because I'm so close to I gotta just slip this in a bit. Because I was so close to my grandmother. I was closer to my grandmother than I was to my mother. And when it came time, my mother said, oh, we're gonna move to Los Angeles. And then I said, oh, I'm not going. I absolutely put my foot down. It was 12 years, 11 and a half or whatever. And I said, no, I'm not going. I cried, I booed. I said I was gonna run away, do all this stuff and da-da-da. And my grandmother was like, listen, baby, you have to go. Be with your mother. You got to be with your brother and your sister. You know, this is what they call family. You can't, you know. And I said, oh, I can't leave you. And I was throwing myself on the floor and having tantrums. And then my mother looked at her and they whispered something or whatever. And very cleverly, my grandmother said, but you know, Ike and Tina Turner live in Los Angeles. And I went, what? And I said, okay, when do we start packing? I'm ready to go. And we were off. And so we went to Los Angeles. I started junior high school. I was 12 going on 13, and then I went to school, and then I come back home every day, do my homework and whatever, and then I would play my music. And I was always a loner, so I would play my music, all my different artists and whatever. But I started with Ike and Tina, and it ended with Ike and Tina. And then I thought, oh my God, I just pick up the phone and call them. So I called Information 411, I think it was back in those days, and I said, hi, can I have the phone number to Ike and Tina Turner? Da-da-da-da. I'm sorry, we don't have that number. No, you have to have that number. So I went on and on and on, drove them crazy. Then I called again and again and again. No, Ike and Tina. And then one day I was looking at the album cover and it said Bullock Sound Recording Studio, Ike and Tina Turner Productions. And I went, let me call it Information, see, Ike and Tina Turner Productions, INTT Productions, or Bullock Sound Recording Studio. So I asked for Bullock Sound Recording Studio first. They gave me a phone number. And I'm going, oh, because I wasn't prepared. I was so disappointed by all the, I couldn't get a phone number. And she said, oh, this is your number. And I was like, no, wait, I don't have a pen. And I had to run and get a pen. And she's like, oh, are you okay? And I said, wait. So I got the phone number. I wrote the phone number down. I hung up the phone. And I went, oh my God, okay, great. So I called them up, called this number every day after school. This lovely, wonderful woman used to pick up and she goes, Ike and Tina are not here at the moment. They're away. And then one day she said, how old are you? So I told her I was 13. She says, well, Ike and Tina are on the road. They're on the road like X amount of days and this and that. And I said, well, I'm their biggest fan and I gotta speak to Tina and I'm living in Los Angeles and I want to come visit her and, my mother can bring me. And I just went into this whole thing. She goes, oh, okay. So to make it after that, I think it was about a year speaking to her every day after school. This woman actually took the time to speak to me. And she said, I need you to speak to your mother because Ike and Tina are going to have a grand opening of the recording studio and I want to invite you since you're their biggest fan. And so she spoke to my mother, made all the arrangements, and we drove there whenever it was on a Friday. I remember it was a Friday. Well, I had to go to school and I kept saying to my mother, I got to stay home. I don't want to go to school. She says, if you don't go to school, you're not going. I went to school. Came home, got dressed, whatever, went there. And that moment when I walked in that recording studio, that's when it all started. Ike and Tina were in for Eddy Armani. Not Eddy Armani in for Ike and Tina. Ike and Tina in for Eddy Armani. They couldn't get rid of me. I was in. And then at the end of it, everybody, it was all adults. They were all drinking champagne, and it was all the Ikeettes and the musicians and the press were there, and Tina was there, and Ike was there, and da-da-da. And I just kind of sat there, and everybody kept coming around, kind of tapping me on the head, and I was like trying to, oh, how you so sweet, cute. Because they all thought I was Ike and Tina's kid. So they were being extra nice to me, right? But come to find, so at the end of it, Ike said, one of the reporters said, so this is your son? And I said, no, he's our biggest fan. He's the biggest pain in the ass you could have. He loves Tina. He calls every day after school and da-da-da. What we're going to do is put him in charge of all the fan club. In charge of all the fan mail. And it was like, that's when it started. That was a Friday. Monday morning I called up and said, when do I start working? And they were going, no, it was a joke. It was a joke. Oh no, you can't joke with me about things like that. So anyway, I just persisted. And from that point on, I was Ike and Tina Turner obsessed. And then of course I got it. Oh, I was very clever though. I got to know all the Ikeettes. I got to know the husbands. I got to know who was sleeping with who was sneaking behind whose back, who was doing this, who just got that. And because I was so young, you got to also, I have to make this very clear, because Ike and Tina were more for adults. They weren't like pop, little idle things that, so they were mature, because my favorite music in the world is blues. I love the blues. The blues is where all music is born from. And it comes from I like country and western. Country, western, and blues are exactly the same thing. It's just a white version, the white people singing and then the black people singing it. You know what I mean? And it's so funny that back in those days they couldn't get along. It's a very thin line, but they were singing the same kind of music.
True.
Same kind of music, So anyway, that was my upbringing, and I just made myself indispensable. And then I got in really good, and then got to know Tina. And I'm going to go fast forward here now because basically, if you want to get my book, you can still get it. It's The Real Tea by Eddy Armani, and it's coming out on paperback soon. I don't know what publisher yet, but very soon. And I'm adding some new chapters, new pictures, and I'm really going to now to really take control. Why did I write this book? I wrote this book because I needed to have my say. I wanted to tell a story, basically. It's all about Tina Turner, but I wanted to tell a story about this young boy who was so ambitious, and this was before all the security stuff and security measures and this and that. I mean, sometimes Tina would get up and get out of her bed, put her dressing gown on, and go to the kitchen to make a coffee, and I was sitting at the kitchen table. And she'd go, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Oh, I came to play with the boys." See, I'm 1 year older than Tina's eldest son. Okay. So I used to have to go and I used to pretend to like the kids and play with them, play football, basketball, whatever it was, just to get a glimpse of Tina. I mean, when I say obsessed, but obsessed, I use that word. It's such a used word and negative thing. Yeah. Mine was all positive. I knew when to go home. I knew when Tina would kind of give me that glare that was like, okay, enough now. And then I'd be like, oh, okay. And I was very polite. I had manners. I came from a good family. So my instincts were quite good. And that ended up working great for me, because then what happened, I was there. I got a job working on the weekends at Ike and Tina Turner's recording studio, answering the phone. I used to answer the phone. "Good afternoon, Bullock Sound Recording Studio. May I help you?" "Oh, can I speak to Ike Turner?" "Ike Turner, who's calling, please?" Put them on hold. And then I buzz Ike, and he would pick up the phone. "What?" And I go, "Oh, Ike, I have da-da-da. Tell him I'm not home. Tell him I'm not here." And he'd hang up the phone, So, and I got that experience. And then actually, I go into detail that the day that Ike and Tina actually split, when they actually had the big fight and all the horribleness and all that stuff, I was working in the studio. I saw Tina that morning, and they left to go to the airport, and the next thing we know, we're getting frantic phone calls that Tina's gone missing. And they had a show to do that evening. And then after that, I was still working for Ike. I came back, Tina left, Tina never came back. And then it was about almost a year. Tina had to go in hiding and do all this kind of stuff, and then fighting with Ike. And Ike was quite nasty. He was very ghetto. He was very street. He was very low rent. He was very, Ike was a dangerous man. He really was. I mean, Tina does express it, but she put some parts of it quite nicely. I mean, Ike was, and someone asked me a question. They said, "But what was Ike like with you?" And I said, well, Ike always liked me. He was always kind. He was tolerant. He was generous. He was this and that and da. But aren't most abuses?
Yeah.
Aren't most abusers the most loveliest people to everybody else, but except the person behind the closed doors that we don't know that they're knocking the shit out of?
Sure.
You know, so, and then so she left. Then after that, Tina went into hiding, and then Tina started working on her solo career. And then, of course, I was saying, oh, Tina, can I have a job working with you? And she was always like, well, we'll see. We'll see. She goes, you know, you have to earn that right. You have to earn, you know.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you, I earned that right. I worked my ass off. And I used to actually think that when I was growing up, because I wasn't the smartest tool in the box, but it's so amazing. I read my books. I always got like B's and C's. I think if I really applied myself, I could have been a really good student. But because I was just so obsessed with music and this and that, and I wanted to be into the business, and I don't care about all that. Where's England? I mean, where is Australia? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't really.
But then again, too, you talk about anything about music. You tell me about the album cover, who shot the cover, who the musicians were, this and that. I can tell.
Talking of covers, so we're going to go fast forward to Tina's first album, a comeback, and she's working with Martin Ware from Heaven 17 Human League. And this is the first single. There's a cover of Al Green, Let's Stay Together. So you you styled this?
I styled that. That was the beginning of the solo. That picture just says it all. Look at that smile on that woman's face. Look at the girls. And also, which was really great, we didn't know this at the time, Norman Seep, who's a fabulous photographer, did those all early promo pictures of Tina and whatever. And Tina had this idea. She had this picture of this airbrush, these two girls, and they were very futuristic. And she wanted Annie and Lejeune to be styled like that. So, and this is another thing too that I love about the 80s. We did, we all just like put on makeup. We did this. We did our hair. We wore shorts. We wore high heels. We wore flat shoes. We just got up and what's in the closet, or let's go down and get whatever. But we didn't have fucking stylists and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? We really didn't. Yeah. Stylist was our creativity, our music, and the way we wanted to express ourselves.
Yeah.
So this is when Tina actually saw the book thing. She wanted the girls to be a little bit spacey like that, and Which was great when this was released. Also, because you're giving Tina now to the youth. It's a freshman Tina. The song's fantastic.
And a new manager as well.
New manager, Roger Davies, and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But then, the controversy, this is just when Marilyn was breaking, Boy George was already a star, and we had all these freaks that were being stars, which were fabulous.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? And you know what the rumor was? That Annie, the white girl, was a tranny.
Wow.
And so but Roger was clever. He didn't deny it. He kind of, because then you're pushing Tina into a younger, new generation.
Absolutely.
And actually, if you think about it, she has a very Marilyn thing about her.
Yeah, I love Marilyn. And I know you're good friends with Marilyn.
Marilyn.
So you obviously met Marilyn because she obviously knew Marilyn and got to... So how did you get to meet Marilyn?
Okay, now I'm going to make a long story short.
Okay.
Marilyn and I met years ago in Los Angeles, but we met through this guy who was a musician. Marilyn wasn't Marilyn then, Marilyn was Peter. And we just met very briefly. I said hello. The only thing about him that was, I remember, he didn't have the hair or any of that kind of stuff. He just had kind of short hair, but he had these incredible eyes. And I'll never forget looking at the eyes going, oh my God, it's beautiful. But he was Marilyn's very misunderstood. Marilyn's actually quite shy. Until he gets to know you, and then he's a Hellcat, and then you're in trouble. But he's got a heart of gold. He's a pain in the ass. Oh, of course he's a pain in the ass. But he's very terribly creative. So, then I moved to Los Angeles, came to Los Angeles. I'm sorry. I moved to London, came to London. All this great music was going, and of course you remember back in the 80s we had all these different magazines and posters and all that stuff.
Used to go to Camden Palace.
Oh, I love Camden Palace.
And Jenny Bell's star, because I know you know the wonderful Jennifer.
That's where, and you know what? It was that sense that you see, we can't get that now. That sense of just going to Camden Palace and then we talking and bumping into everybody and going backstage and what. First time I ever saw Dead or Alive, and they were doing before the record was released, I went to Camden Palace. Oh gosh, you guys know. What was that guy's name that used to do? Steve Strange.
Steve Strange.
Steve Strange. He used to do the nights there, and I used to get invited and go there, and everybody would be there.
Absolutely.
Shalimar Joe, Jeffrey
Daniels.
Daniels. Jermaine Stewart was another really good friend of mine. When I used to dance years ago, I used to dance on Soul Train.
That's right.
And that's when I met Jodie Watley.
We loved Jodie Watley, yeah.
Oh, we loved Jodie Watley and Jeffrey Daniels.
And
Jeffrey
and I became friends. Ballet, you used to see the Kemp brothers.
I love the Kemps. Martin is like, Martin was such a hot, he is a heartthrob. Everybody would just melt. And I have to give the credit to the wife. She knew she got the cat. She got the fucking farm when she got him. The crane. She just sucked it all up. But but Marilyn and I are really good friends. And then, so when I was coming to London, I know I'm going around a bit, but when I was coming to London and you saw the posters and all that stuff, and I saw that picture of Marilyn calling your name, I thought, oh my God. And I swear, I remember going, look, that's a creature. That is a creature. The beauty and, I remember back in those days, everybody was wearing hair extensions.
Yes.
They were bad. They were bad.
You did hair as well for
I did
Patti
hair.
LaBelle and...
Yeah, I made wigs. Oh God, I made wigs for Patti LaBelle, for so many different artists. Mary Wilson. So my experience. Oh, and back in the day, before I came to London and did all that stuff, you and I were talking about. You and I told, and all of a sudden it's just like, what?
We mentioned war. Remember war.
Do you know slipping into...
because I went to, I think one of the first times I went to America, I was about 15, it was 1982, and it was, they had this album called Outlaw, and I got it on cassette, and I still collect cassettes, and they all got these bandanas around their mouths, and it had so many great hits, and then you just mentioned War, and the song that you liked, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't listened to that. So that's what I love about you as well as...
See, we have that thing in common where we just kind of get in there.
Absolutely.
And I love that, and that's what I was saying about modern day. I miss that there's not a meeting hotspot anymore. Before we could all go to Soho, go to the Chinatown afterwards and get pissed, and then go there to sober up, and then go back home and you run into everybody, and then you'd be like somebody that it could be Marilyn or Boy George or somebody going, you got a $5, you know what I mean? Or Dead or Alive, somebody's like down, oh shit, we didn't have credit cards. We didn't have mobile phones.
No.
We were all like, and everybody interacted with everybody. One of my favorite places in the world back in those days was...
the Wack Club?
No, I loved the Limelight.
The Limelight.
The Limelight upstairs, the VIP room. We used to live there. Marilyn and I used to get kicked out of there all the time. I probably more than Marilyn, because I used to be quite, oh my God, I love the rock and roll lifestyle. I used to meet everybody. You bump into Sade, and Sade's just having her little, or what's his name, Mick from Simply Red.
Oh, Big Papa,
we met everybody there. One time I have to say that when Marilyn tells the story better than I do, but we went to Limelight, it was VIP, and they just were like, oh no, it's a private party tonight, and they were like, and we were like, well, who? So then they were like, oh, it's for, it's VIP. Anyway, we ended up gate crashing the party. It was Bob Geldof's Stag Night at the Limelight, and you had everybody in there, and they were like, oh my God, now look at these two coming to crash. And Bob Geldof doesn't have the best sense of humor. He doesn't. It's quite known. I love Bob, but he doesn't have the best sense of humor. But anyway, we had a ball there. We were up on the tables doing, they thought we were the High Entertainment, like strip dancing or whatever. And they said, get him out of here, fucking poofs. You know what I mean? Oh no, those were the days. I met Steve
Norman for the first time in the Limelight. He was lovely. And I met him a few times. I wasn't a massive Spandau fan, but as a person, he's incredible. And then it seems Tony had the solo since he split up from the band, and brilliant. But anyway, we're going to have to wrap up soon. So.
Oh dear! Oh God! We can
on.
also do. I will say this. Look at me. He's interviewing me, and I'm interviewing. But we can also do part 2 in another day.
Sure.
And add on, because there's so much we can talk about.
Well, we want to do something as well together, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Eventually, either do a podcast or some other ideas which we're going to talk about with Mark Anthony. So, Eddy, thank you so much.
Actually, I forgot about that. That is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast, then talk about all the other artists that we've worked with.
And we can get some special guests to come, because we know quite a few people.
Oh, we do actually.
Not bragging, but
not to name drop.
No, but also it'd be like shade free, and
Yeah.
just be talking about music and what inspires us, and about today.
Yeah.
And so Eddie, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much, and you brought some lovely food as well. So I'm going to be interview the wonderful Tim Dry for ClusterView.com. This is TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat. Purrsents for ClusterView.com. Interview with Cameron McVeigh will be out next week, and you can see all the interviews I've done with Cass. We were talking about Cass Lewis before.
Yes.
I'm going to go and see Skunk Anansi tonight. So Eddie's going to stay and have a bit of lunch with us, and I'm going to interview Tim Dry. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine, and see you all soon. Meow. Bye bye. Bye bye.